What's up, you guys? My name is Mahdi.
And I'm Ramsey.
And this is what they won't say.
Bitch!
This week?
Yes, this week. Every week. Forever.
We really have... I'm going to say this. This week is a serious episode. We've talked about this the last 3 episodes that you would stop saying it. My mom is watching the show.
No, you said I should stop saying it. I said I would stop cussing. That's the best we're going to do. Oh, wow. That's so much better.
You like to hear yourself.
I do. Yes. 100%.
I don't like that.
Bro, we took some time off.
You took a vacation.
I took some time off.
You took on show permitted. We got to talk to the executives.
I didn't put in my request for PTO.
Oh, we'll discuss this after the.
I'm the star. I do what I want.
We will discuss this after the show.
I'm getting a write up.
You are. But you won't get fired because I need a co-host.
Fire me. Go ahead. I want unemployment.
I need a co-host, so you will be staying on.
All right.
You know what? You just do whatever you want.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No
more trips.
Catch you on the flip side. Mental health check.
Pause.
What?
Let's cancel that. I think we've got a lot going on this week, and the topic of discussion, I don't want it to be about us or our mental health. So I'll pivot the mental health check.
Okay.
We've seen what's happening in Israel. We've seen what's happening in Palestine, right?
Okay.
You've seen the posts.
How
did that make you feel?
Have I seen the posts? Yes, I have seen post after post after post from both Palestinians and Israelis, and I am in disbelief.
Yeah.
Just as a human.
Absolutely.
I think good call on avoiding mental health check this week.
Yeah.
Because it is in shambles for everyone.
It's hard to see that repeatedly every day for a week and expect to be in a state that,
in a complete state.
Even the fact that I don't want to talk about what I feel like, because whatever I feel, even looking at the pictures,
it's so minuscule in the grand scheme, right?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm eating.
Yeah.
My family's healthy. They're alive. We're not getting bombed out of the sky. I'm okay.
Ramsey, I am the typical I don't want to say I'm poorly informed, because I would say I'm far from beyond.
Yeah.
Poorly informed, because I don't think I'm that. What I would say is I knew what was going on. I didn't. Okay. I had no idea.
To that degree.
It was like this. It was post after post, and I would see people dying.
Yeah.
And I knew people died every day.
Sure.
So I said, okay. Then I saw children dying.
Yeah.
And I said, no way. There's not a chance this is happening.
Yeah.
No way.
This could stand to be happening in 2021 and no one cared.
And then it was person after person.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first day, I said, all right, this is typical. We'll be done with this in 2 days.
Yeah.
3rd day passed, fourth day passed, 5th day passed.
Yeah.
And I said, this isn't over yet.
Facts.
This is still going. But everything else that I've been used to is a couple days, ceasefire, we all go on to not hearing about it anymore.
Sure.
That's not to say they're not living through it anymore.
Every day.
We're not hearing it.
Yeah.
And so to me, Mahdi, it doesn't exist. Because I don't hear about it every day.
We don't see it every day.
I hear about it every 5-10 years. We hear about it again, and then everybody goes quiet and nobody cares anymore.
Yeah.
Same.
So I think that's the scary part, right? So this is not a new story. And
it's not.
I am not going to say I'm an activist. I'm not. But this has been something I've been passionate about and vocal about for years. And anyone that's had a political conversation with me has heard me discuss this, like, in detail.
Yeah.
This isn't new. This isn't a surprise to me. If anything, I feel like this is the first time in the history of Palestine, the Arab-Israeli conflict, that we're making progress, because it got such large attention from the world.
Yep.
But the the facts are still that it's happening. At what point do we, as a people, say this shouldn't happen anymore? So you just said it. I've known this has been going on.
Yeah.
And like you said, you're probably as informed as an average person. Let's say.
Right.
This has been going on. There's a day or two of problems. We move on.
But it's been going on since
1948.
1948.
Britain gave a country that wasn't theirs to the Jews.
Gave or sold or invited?
Gave.
And I want to say this. I am in tune with what is going on today.
Yeah.
I am not in tune with the history of it. Because I saw what happened in Lebanon.
Hold on, respectfully. I'm going to tell you as someone that, again, I'm not a professional. You can't be in tune today unless you understand what's been going on.
In the past.
You can understand people are dying. You can understand there's a war. But until you understand it's been 76 years of occupation, of misery, of absolute apartheid, of second-class citizens, not even citizens, being treated like trash, historically, for 70-plus years, it's not an isolated incident anymore. It's not, there's just war there. There is a break in the story between what's actually happening, what people are being told. And the sad part is, until maybe this run, no one understood that wasn't what's actually happening.
I literally just know what I see on the news. I know what I've seen in history, in my history.
Sure, so let's clarify.
But I also wasn't born in 1948.
Sure, neither was I. But let's clarify. And again, this isn't you, this is for everybody. Because this is something that upsets me. The narrative starts almost every time an outbreak happens. Every few years there's a major outbreak. It escalates, and the casualties are massive. The children, the people, typically always in Palestine, in Gaza, and the West Bank, are just astronomically worse than they are in Israel. Israel's like one person died. Gaza's like 216 people died. Buildings on top of children. It's not an accident. The news will have you believe it's an accident. Biden walks out and says he commends Israel's ability to defend itself.
Right.
I'm telling you, that's bullshit. Israel is not defending itself because the narrative is starting at a point that they're placing their mark on. That's not where the narrative starts.
Okay.
The narrative starts at a country that was given to people that wasn't theirs. Fine.
Okay.
The Israeli settlements expanded from the territories given to them to displacing Palestinians out of their homes because they have a military. Palestine doesn't have a military. Palestine doesn't have a way of defending itself. Palestinians are in their home, a Jewish person, a Jewish settler from America.
Before the settlers. Because we have to explain why there are settlers.
Because they were given the country.
1948, Israel, Jewish people came into Palestine.
Yep.
And I'll make this very clear. I'm going to make this very clear right now.
Sure.
Just because I am pro-Palestine, just because I am the pro-Palestinian people, I am so far from anti-Semitic.
There's a difference.
And by any stretch of anyone's imagination, but we have to make that clear because we are divulging into a subject matter where we are going to discuss the Jewish people.
So I can discuss the Jewish people also not agreeing with Israel, and that's why we're not anti-Semitic.
So we're just going to keep it on the
Israelis.
state of Israel.
Absolutely. But the history starts with Jewish people that came into the country.
That's why I wanted to say this
Jews.
now.
There's a difference between Zionists and there's a difference between Jews.
Right.
I know plenty of Jewish people that disagree with the country of Israel. It's completely normal.
There's
is fine. Plenty of them.
Which is fine.
There's plenty of them. So there is a difference. And anyone that thinks there isn't is, again, looking for a reason to start a problem. It's not that.
Right.
There's a difference between terrorists and Muslims. There's a difference. You guys see them as similarly. There's a distinguished difference.
They're not synonymous.
They are not synonymous.
No.
So, and again, I apologize for being harsh, but this is one of those things where I just have zero tolerance. Okay, so we've established that this is not an anti-Semitic rant, anti-Jew at all. This is solely an issue with the country of Israel.
A human rights issue.
A human rights issue that's happening inside of Israel. This is not me claiming, by the way, I don't speak for anyone else except myself. I don't speak for Palestinians. I don't speak for Arabs. I speak for me, an American. I was born here in Detroit. That's who I am. This is my belief and my belief only. What I will say.
I
appreciate it, brother. Appreciate you. This is our belief.
We're one in the same.
They came in. They were about, I think, 40% of the population when they first got given the country.
What year are we in?
1948.
Okay.
Within 2 to 3 years, they became the majority, which is very quickly in the sense of politics.
Okay. Okay.
Very quickly. Because they were given X amount of space of approved settlements for Jewish people to come into the country.
Who approved them?
Britain.
Okay.
We're talking historically. Almost instantly, settlements began to expand. To this day, 1948 to now, what is that? 73 years? To this day, those settlements are still expanding. If I'm a Palestinian in Palestine, what's known to be Palestine because it's not a real country anymore, and a Jewish settler comes into my house, which, by the way, everything I'm saying, I promise you is factual. Just go look at it.
Right.
Pre-social media, growing up, I knew these things. But there's no social media that I could say it's facts. You can see it happening.
Fact of the matter is
on Instagram. You can see a Palestinian family recording a Jewish person walk into the house and tell them, I want you to know your house is now mine. And the Palestinian family will say, no, it's not. This is my
what
house.
Recently triggered this uproar.
Not recently. This is what's been always happening.
The social media uproar was recently triggered by the settlements.
By the attacks in response to the settlements.
Okay.
To the displacement of Palestinian homes.
Attacks from both parties.
So this has been happening, right? So let me jump into this. The displacement is part one.
Okay.
Part two is the apartheid state that Israel is. It's ethnic based fully. If you're Jewish, you get a citizenship, you get a house, you get taken care of by this country of Israel.
If you're not,
you're scum. Now, if you look at the way Gaza lives, if you look at the way West Bank lives, they are in an open air prison. Open air.
Which is what I've recently seen on, again, because I was so poorly informed on the matter.
Yeah.
I knew something bad was going on. I had no idea it was this. That's what I've recently seen on social media.
But it's not recent.
But
that's where the frustration comes from.
Life.
Yes.
It is their life.
It's not just a wall surrounding them that people can't get into, that they can't get out of. Checkpoints that if you're Arab, you go through, and if you're Jewish or Israeli, you go through the other one. If you are Arab, you have to go through a different checkpoint. You get held to a certain standard. You can't walk, even in the parts that aren't in the open air prison in Israel. There are Arabs in Israel. You can't walk on this street.
Well, in Israel, there are Arabs, Jews, Druze, Christians.
Yeah. But who's a Class A citizen? There's only one.
Really?
It's like I said, this is not
I'm not up to par on Israeli politics.
This is not being made up. This is why the world is going crazy. It's not because there was an attack and 200 people died. It's because they've been made aware of the situation years ago, and this is the culmination of that frustration.
What I understood all these years was that it was just a Muslim thing.
It's not. It's not religious. My aunt is Palestinian. She's Palestinian Christian. I know many Palestinian Christians.
And she was oppressed.
Yeah, her whole family was there. They all left. That's why there's so many Palestinian refugees. Over 1 million were displaced into countries. Millions.
So it's anyone but Jewish.
Yes, because you're still Arab. You're still Arab. So if you're Arab, you go through this line. If you're not, you go through this line. If there's an embargo where they don't allow food or water into the country because they dictate what goes into this open air prison. Electricity is turned off at their discretion whenever they want. Clean water, food, and then that's how they live. On top of it, if you're in your home, you're thinking that you're not occupied. Okay, you're just in an open air prison. You're also tormented. If you walk by, there's kids playing on the street. They're playing soccer. You have guns aimed at your head while you're doing it. This is reality. There's videos. There's guys 100 meters away that are shooting them in the leg for no reason. Their sole job as an Israeli military, which there's IDF soldiers that have come out and discussed it. Again, it's researchable. It's look up. You can look it up. And they say, my sole job was to scare the Palestinians so they never resist. Ever.
Really?
So when people I see on Instagram will be like, they give them warnings before they bomb their house. It's not out of a humanitarian part in their hearts that says they're warning them to get out. It's to instill fear.
I have seen the warnings.
It's bullshit.
So what is it called? Door knocking?
Roof knocking.
Roof knocking.
It's a scare tactic.
Roof knocking.
Yes.
It is moments.
You get a minute and a half.
It is not what I've seen on the news. So on the news, I saw.
Yeah.
Because I said, oh, come on. Hamas is firing at them. They're firing back or vice versa. What is going on? Why this, that, and the other?
Yeah.
Then I came across a video of roof knocking.
Yeah.
So it was a real-time roof knocking demonstration.
Yes.
Not demonstration. This was somebody's home I was watching.
Absolutely.
It was a test bomb.
Yep. That just
And
hits your roof.
Ramsey within...
It shakes the house so you know you're supposed to get out. And you have, 90 seconds in the video?
Maybe less.
90 seconds to get out.
And
then
the
your house
entire
is
home
demolished.
was exploded.
And we don't have homes like we do in America. These are buildings of families, by the way.
Buildings.
They're
of
apartment
people.
buildings of families that are
right.
meant to flee with no stuff. Now they look at it and say it's a humanitarian response of war. It's not. It's a fear tactic. Mm-hmm. You look at the children. Again, there's videos of it on social media. They hear a plane.
Panic.
They're under 5 years old with trauma that we'll never understand in our lifetime.
Right.
Because we live in America, the safest country in the world.
And I thought I had issues.
You understand? Like, in comparison, there's no, and that's where my frustration's coming from, is that people are saying Hamas. And I'm glad you brought that up. Who is Hamas?
So, to my understanding,
Yeah.
as your typical,
Sure.
Hamas has always been before now,
Yep.
was a terrorist organization.
In America and Israel.
As of recent,
Yep.
I have beg to differ with my former self.
Sure.
As in,
Because that's the only information you had.
could this really be the Palestinians' defense system?
Yes, it is the only Palestinian
That
defense
we
system.
are looking at as a terrorist organization.
Yes. So, and I said this to you off air. Everyone's terrorist. Someone's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter. And I'm not saying that to justify terrorism. Terrorism is horrible.
Absolutely.
It goes without saying. But you have to understand what's happening in a region to culminate to this level of violence. If you give anyone two options, you're going to die or you resist. Every person is going to resist.
Sure thing.
Plain and simple.
Sure.
When a cop tells you stop resisting, but you've got his knee on the back of your neck, you're going to fucking resist.
You're going to resist.
Because you're about to die. So when you tell me that the Hamas had thrown a rocket, which via reports has been basically glorified fireworks.
Sure.
Right? And with the Iron Dome, which is the best defense system in the world, maybe 1 out of 100 gets through and hits like a building and no one dies.
Right.
That's Hamas.
We've seen videos.
Hamas was created in 1987. Israel was created in 1948. Do the math. There's 30 years in between there. Hamas has not always been there. The torment, the terrorism of Israel on Palestinians has been there from day one.
Sure.
So the storyline that Hamas is doing this, is perpetuating this level of war, is bullshit. It's not factual. They are not, if Israel stopped doing what they're doing and treating the Palestinians this way, Hamas would cease to exist. Hamas's sole purpose is we are dying. Our families are dying. Our kids are dying. We need some level of resistance to defend ourselves. We don't have a military.
Right.
We don't have a government. What do you expect these people to do? Sit down and just die? No one in life would do that. No one. It's unfathomable to think that. And then they play the victim role as in we're scared of Hamas. If you've seen the TikToks, and I urge you to if you haven't, go to the TikTok map. Or I'm sorry, not TikTok. Go to the Snapchat map.
Sure.
Go to Tel Aviv. Go to Israel. Look at how they're living. They're on beaches. They're at restaurants. They're living. They're happy.
I honestly didn't see. So I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
But I did not see that till today is Friday.
Yeah.
Friday. What's today's date?
21st.
May the 21st. I saw that yesterday for the first time.
This is the beauty of social media because nothing I'm telling you can't be seen firsthand. It's not 1990 anymore. It's not 2000 anymore. You can go see what's happening now, then go to the West Bank, then go to Gaza and look at how they live there when every building is rubble around them, pulling children out of a building that was destroyed. At what point do you realize that what they're saying is bullshit? When a cop says he reached for my gun, he resisted arrest. We know, obviously it happens sometimes. It's bullshit.
Right.
That's his defense mechanism to say, oh, I killed him because he reached for my gun. No, he didn't.
Right.
He didn't.
Right.
He thought he was going to die. He tried fighting back. You shot him. That's point blank, period. We've accepted that in America.
Sure.
This is no different.
Sure.
They bomb the laboratory that tests for COVID. Hamas was there. Al-Aqsa, which is one of the most historically
Every place that was
important religious spot in Islam, they raided with stun guns and rubber bullets and just went through the Palestinian people praying on the most religious night of the most religious month of the year.
Right.
We thought Hamas was there.
Right.
A hospital, we thought they were housing Hamas terrorists.
News channel.
Every single thing is we thought Hamas was there. At what point do you start to look at it and say, this is bullshit?
Right.
Hamas is not there.
Are they everywhere?
The news stores, the news stations.
Horrendous.
They destroyed the news stations building. Why? So they dictate the narrative. It is all control. This is why the world is going crazy right now.
Sure.
Everyone in the world. Soccer players. There's protests in every major city around the world. And the only people that are encouraging this and enabling this to happen is our country. It's the U.S. The UN says that there's X amount, all well documented, humanitarian issues in Israel and problems that they've started, and they're not treating people properly. And then the U.S. comes up and vetoes any action the U.S. wants to take. There's an investigation. We need to look into the humanitarian crisis in Israel. The U.S. then vetoes it. No, we don't. That's a problem. So when you look at me and you say, why are you frustrated or why are you angry? This is why I'm frustrated.
But can the U.S. veto
Yes.
a entire thought?
Yes, we have veto power in the UN. We are alpha. This is the USA. This is my home. This is why I love this country. But at the same time, there's a responsibility that comes with being the leader of the world, which is who we are. And this is a problem. We have often been on the wrong side of history. So when we look at the Holocaust and say, how did those things happen? When we look at the most horrific moments in history and say, how did we let these things happen? In slavery, this is how. Yeah. Because Americans, at the time it was happening, thought that the people it was happening to weren't important enough. The Jews in 1932, when the Holocaust happened, were subpar citizens to the rest of the world. No one cared. We got involved in World War II because Pearl Harbor got bombed, not because we wanted to help Jewish people out.
Right.
That's facts.
Right.
Now, the Jews got brought in. We care about Jews. Palestinians, we don't give a shit about.
But we care about Jews because they are our allies.
Sure.
In the Middle East.
We need a station in the Middle East.
They are our only allies in the Middle East.
At what cost?
At what cost? Whose life?
From every major freedom fighter, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Jimmy Carter, an ex-president of the USA, anyone that has spent any time in the Middle East has come forward and said, this is not the way people are supposed to be treated. Every single person. If you knew nothing else of this situation, let me ask you a question. If you knew nothing else, there are plenty of religious Jews, of journalists, of newscasters in Israel, Jews all over the world that are boycotting and speaking up against what's happening in Israel. Find me one single Palestinian who says what Israel's doing is right. A single one.
Palestinian or Jew?
Palestinian. Find me a single Palestinian that says what Israel's doing is right. Because there's plenty of Jews that say that what they're doing is wrong.
No Palestinians.
My point.
Right.
That is in itself indicative of what's happening. They know, people are aware. I just watched a 20-minute broadcast on an Israeli news station talking about how they need to be more aware, and the alt-right in Israel, because it is a very alt-right state, is not agreeing with what's happening. We cannot have freedom and beauty and fun and all this at the expense of Palestinian lives, which are being treated like scum. It doesn't work anymore. So there was a ceasefire. Agreed? 2 a.m. Last night. Ceasefire.
But the ceasefire was so... well, they're not firing.
That was a ceasefire.
So I saw what happened after the ceasefire.
Yeah.
Where they stormed into Al-Aqsa.
Again. Yeah.
And were harassing, shooting at, bombing at
sure.
People who are praying. But is this not their typical life?
It is.
So the ceasefire just really means quit bombing them.
For now.
It does not mean quit harassing them.
The harassment never stops. Harassment never stops.
So while we were reposting, posting, and talking about what's going on because it's hype,
yeah,
we could talk about the bombings all day because it's hype. But the harassment, the excessiveness of it, the
excessive force
doesn't stop.
Never.
It doesn't stop.
Ever.
We can't stop talking about it.
I don't think we should. There is no other side to this. And I'm not Palestinian. I have no skin in the game. I was born and raised in America.
Yeah.
I have zero effect of what happens there.
Our origins, you, me, do you know anybody else in this room? None of us are Palestinian.
We're not Palestinian.
We're pro human rights.
Why wouldn't you be? There's a narrative of they use children as human shields. It's bullshit.
It's heartbreaking.
It's bullshit. These people are desperate to live. It's not wanting to wipe Israel off the map, which is a part of the narrative. They hate us. They want to kill us. They don't. They want to live. I wake up. I go to work. I try to make money. I want to support my family, raise my family, do my thing, and be free. They don't get that opportunity. That's all they want.
Sure.
Israel's here to stay. I'm pretty sure, again, I don't speak for Palestinians. I'm pretty sure they've made peace with that. Now they want a place to stay, and they want a country to just live their lives with no interference. It's not too much to ask for.
Listen, I'm okay with Israel being here to stay. But I want to also settle that one day with that Palestine too.
We have to step up now. We have to stop it now.
Can we be the generation that ends...
We have to be.
Oppression.
We have to be.
And we are back.
Yes, sir.
Now, I am not typically one to be poorly informed
Yep.
on any subject matter that we're going to discuss or any... I try to be as up to speed or up to par on any subject matter that is...
That we're discussing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On this subject matter, Ramsey, I am clearly out of tune.
Sure.
As I would think most people are. Mm-hmm. There has to be a solution.
Yeah. What I will say is we discussed this topic off air when we first thought about, is this appropriate to discuss? How do we discuss it? And I told you, don't feel the need to study up before. Right? We discussed it.
Sure.
And because I don't want it to come off as in everyone is so knowledgeable. This is real. This is who we are.
Right.
I like politics. Mehdi had known what was given to him. I like that. I want people to see that these are two guys, one who might know, one who doesn't.
Sure.
Having a conversation, because that's the solution for us. The political solution, government-wise, I can't give you that answer because it's so deep. There's so many factors at play politically in the Middle East and here in Israel, the surrounding countries, that
we're not there.
I can't do that. That's not where I'm at.
We're not there.
What I will say is this is a win. This week, at a horrible expense of 260 Palestinian lives, 90 of which were children, right, is a horrible price to pay. But 6 days in, the attack stopped. There's one reason for it.
11.
Was it 11 days?
11.
11 days in, the attack stopped. Why?
Social pressure.
The pressure of the international community at sporting events, at protests, the relentless Instagram posts all over the world,
everywhere,
put pressure on the government to step forward and say, this is not a good idea. We've exposed that the narrative being told is no longer being accepted.
Sure.
Because we've seen otherwise.
Sure.
So I don't know what the political solution is. I know ground floor, we keep doing this.
The social
aspect?
The social influence on the political figures.
Post it. If you're unsure,
what are we asking for?
Doesn't matter. We're asking for understanding. We're asking for pressure to do what's right. We're asking for
coexistence.
The truth to coexist.
Yep. There we go.
Because the truth in the narrative being given is that what Israel's doing is in defense of Hamas's attacks. If Hamas no longer existed right now, I promise you on my future children, what Israel's doing would continue. I'm that certain because they did it before Hamas. They did it during the peak of Hamas. Hamas now is minuscule of what it once was.
Sure.
It's nowhere near the power that it had.
Sure.
They made sure of it.
Sure.
The attacks still come. The civilians still die. The mothers are still getting shot. The kids are still getting tormented and killed. There's no difference.
Because there is a cleansing of the state.
It is ethnic cleansing. They no longer want Palestinians in their country. And you can see when Israelis get interviewed how they speak of the Palestinians. It's not even passively aggressive. It's just genuine disdain for this group of people.
I turned away from my mic mostly because there is a distaste for the lack of respect for a people's life.
Absolutely.
Just as a person, no matter who I don't like as a person,
yeah,
I would not take that person and make a general rule that I don't like all of them.
Sure. Of course not.
So I'm not going to come in and say, I don't like Ramsey. I don't like his family. I don't like any of his extended family. I don't like anybody who is related to him.
Sure.
And therefore, by byproduct, I kill them off.
I agree. That is exactly not the solution on either side.
That's where the shame falls in me, because I say to myself, is it possible that there is a human out there that could look at a people and say, enough with these?
The general public?
It's almost funny because I'm like, is it possible that we look at a people and we say, enough with them?
No, I don't see it. I think the general public is misinformed, which is my frustration. They're misinformed on the topic.
On what happened.
On what's happening, on the narrative, on the timeline, on how horrific it is, and the conditions in which these people are living. They're misinformed.
Sure.
I feel like anyone that steps foot and sees it would take a step back and say, oh shit, I didn't know it was this to this degree. Which is why I say, keep posting. Keep doing what we're doing. We have to. To give an example, right? Just the easiest way that I can. You brought me onto the show. This was your idea. This is my side of the couch. This is your side of the couch. You're like, Rams, here's a tape. Here's me. Here's you. Imagine every episode I just kept moving that tape over. And you saw it happening. Let's be honest. I'm bigger than you. You wouldn't be able to stop me. So I just
squish me like a bug.
So I just keep moving it closer and closer.
Sure.
Until you're in the corner of that couch. And then I take you off the couch and I put you in the corner of the room. I take away your mic. Now I dictate when you eat. I dictate when you speak. The platform of the show is mine. I tell whatever narrative, Mahdi screwed me over, so I kicked him off the show.
Right.
I dictate everything that's happening to the outside world because you let me in. That is what's happening.
The mic is no longer mine.
They don't have a mic. They don't have a military to defend them. And if you do try to throw a piece of paper at me, I beat the shit out of you. And then the narrative is, Mahdi threw a piece of paper at Ramsey. How do you expect anything less? I expect more than a piece of paper.
Sure.
I expect Mahdi to lose his mind and try to kill me.
Sure.
Because I've taken everything from you. If you are faced with resistance or death, you will always pick resistance. Everybody.
Sure.
And I want that to be the motto of this episode. If it's resistance or death, you will always pick resistance. Because it seems fair enough, it seems obvious enough, and there's nothing else that needs to be said. If you're going to die, you resist. This is what they won't say. Keep posting. Keep doing what you do. Don't let up. We won this round, and we're going to keep winning them. We want everyone to live together. We want everyone to live happily. We want everyone to be free, but we want basic human rights for every person involved. Jewish,
for everyone,
and Palestinian, and American, black, white. That's what we're fighting for, and that's what we're not going to stop until we get. So
Absolutely.
That's the goal of what we're doing. That's the goal of putting this platform out, using this platform to get this information out to try to help people understand, people that didn't know, people that want to know. And that's why we did it.
My apologies for being so poorly informed on this.
Don't be apologetic. That's why we did this. I wanted the people to see it. I wanted the world to see it.
We discussed this episode, and I said, what a great episode on a matter for once.
Yeah.
I don't want to say zero clue. I have 50% of clue.
Sure.
What's going on?
Did this conversation make you want to go and look up some things?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I'm embarrassed.
Even me, I'm still reading. There's still more to learn. There's always more to do. Let's get together. Let's team up. Let's have the conversation with our friends, with our families, with whoever wants to listen, and let's keep pushing the narrative forward.
I'm thankful you know more than I do about this subject matter.
That's what I'm here for.
My name is Mahdi.
I'm Ramsey.
And this is what they won't say.